Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creative Writing with Dr. Nagel. I'm your host, Tanya Nagel, and today we are here with Rituals and Runes author Serenity Rayne. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
So, Serenity, tell us a little bit about how you got started as a writer.
Well, it's actually kind of hysterical. I was a reader first, as a lot of authors usually start out as, and I was sitting there not finding the book I wanted to read. I've always had an issue with the female always having to be saved, that we get portrayed as helpless, the damsel in distress. And I mean, as a Gen Xer, most of us pretty much raised ourselves. We relied on ourselves. We drank from garden hoses, got onto the porch by the time the lights came on, fought our own battles, didn't need to call mom and dad to settle things for us. We did it ourselves. I wanted to find a female main character like that. I wanted one that was pretty much a take no crap from no one, handle her own business, and just get from point A to point B, whatever her goal was, without anybody having to dive in and save her. So one night it was kind of hysterical. I was drinking with one of my girlfriends. We killed off a couple of bottles of wine, made the mistake of watching, I think it was Bram Stoker's Dracula, Underworld, and what was it? It was one of the zombie movies, Resident Evil. Made the mistake of watching 3 horror movies before bed, went to sleep, had this crazy dream about a wolf dragon hybrid that pretty much kicked butt, took names, took no prisoners, and she just pretty much got the boys to drop into line, do what needed to be done, and went from there. And that was pretty much the dream that inspired the first book, Ascend, in the Aurora Merlip series. Pre-COVID, that series did very well for me. As everybody knows now that writes, it's a much tougher market than it used to be. It's much harder to get a readership and a following unless you're popping a book out like every 45 days. Most of us have jobs, so the 45-day thing, with any quality involved, isn't happening. So to bring the stories that need to be brought, it's taking time and a lot of thought, a lot of processing. But I mean, the Aurora series was like my first love. I still pop her up into certain series, like you will see her and some of her family members pop up in the Dark Angel series. You will see them pop up in what's going to be book 3 for the Hybrid Royals that everybody's been driving me crazy over because I never finished it. Because you know how it goes. If the series isn't moving, it's not selling, it's not making money, you put it off to the side, it goes onto the shelf to be revisited at a later date. It becomes a passion project, not a sitting in front project. So as my passion project, it's kind of sitting off to the side. I kind of like glance at it periodically. Actually, I kind of have the new notebook that I'm plotting it in, literally in grasp, because it's been something that I've been thinking about periodically. And then there's also the story that's for Rituals and Runes, Salem Rising. That actually got inspired by doing some genealogy. I found out that I am a descendant of a couple of survivors from the European witch trials. So I was like, that would be pretty wicked to kind of do kind of like a parallel universe kind of deal. Like there's current day Salem, no magic, like the Salem that you and I can literally go walk down the street right now, walk into that Salem, and oh crap, go into this bookstore, accidentally open a door when you're wearing the pendant that helps you get through the door. You open the door and you're in alternate Salem where there's witches, there's warlocks, there's shifters, there's magical creatures and items. And that's where you should have been all this time versus being in our Salem.
The tourist department.
Yeah, you basically, you got displaced. But I thought about that and I'm like, it would be pretty cool. And I can kind of see like if our ancestors held the magic that they claim because of lack of education and everything else back then, the magic that they held was real. I wouldn't be surprised if they sat there and be like, oh, look, a portal. Everybody that's got a gift, go to the right. Everybody that doesn't, go to the left. We're good. We're going to close the door right now. We'll be safe. And that's basically the premise of the start of that series, is that her family was being hunted. Her father sent her through the portal with another witch into what would be our Salem to keep her safe so she wouldn't be hunted, because the way the covens were, they told you who you married. So like if they wanted me to marry Bob and I wanted to marry John, you know, they'd kill John so I'd have to marry Bob, because that's how they wanted the bloodline to go. And her parents went against that, had their little tryst behind closed doors. Oops, there's a baby. Oops, we're being hunted. And through the portal, the FMC went. She hits a certain age, goes into town right before Halloween. The pendant starts reacting. Next thing you know, she's through the portal and our adventure begins. I'm looking forward to finishing that one and publishing it after the
This
anthology's had
stuff's
its
over.
run. I'm really looking forward to that one because I'm actually going to be signing. What is it? I'm doing the Salem signing. Getting
Mm-hmm.
witchy with it, 2023. I'll be there. I will have Salem Reich and print it for that signing. So that's what, September? Yeah, September of next year.
Yeah. Well, that'll be
So I'm
fun.
very stoked about that. Absolutely love that cover. I mean, the girl's in the fire holding herself like this. The witch that can't be burnt. Yeah, so it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to that a lot. I'm very excited about, actually having a story go wide. I haven't published wide yet, and it's gonna be a new experience. Hopefully pick up a few new people.
And for those who are listening and watching, wide is the term for when it's distributed through other places in addition to Amazon. So you'll hear authors saying that they're wide, and I know that sometimes that's like, what does that mean when you're first starting out? It
Oh,
means
besides being
that you
narrow,
can get it everywhere. Yeah, like besides being narrow, um, publishing with an expanded mind.
it's a
But
pain in the patootie, to put it nicely. I'm 99.9% of my work is all on Kindle Unlimited.
Mhm.
This is the first and only piece up until it is able to go solo,
Mhm.
is the only one that's not going to be in KU up until it's completely done whole in book form.
Mhm.
So trust me, everybody will be seeing those ads pop up when it's about to go live. So once it's released, big party somewhere.
Yeah.
I haven't said it where yet, but it's going to be a why choose romance, since that's the term that we're using now, is why choose. I completely, once I know you've heard what went on with that, and I don't want to reiterate that one because that's going to be at least a 45-minute dissertation. Um, but the connotation behind the original term of reverse harem, which everybody understands better.
Mhm.
Um, but the why choose, makes a lot of sense too, because it's more encompassing. I mean, a lot of my groupings, I'll use that word, groupings, are very polyamorous.
Hmm.
Sometimes a pair, most times a pair of the guys in the group have a relationship unto themselves,
Hmm.
along with having a direct relationship with the FMC.
Yeah. I think that that's the main thing with it. So for again, for people who are out there who may or may not know, like the reverse harem would be that the female main character has multiple partners, which may be female, maybe male, whatever. Um, and then the why choose encompasses if it is not just like a
Strictly that.
relationship strictly with that female main character. So if it's because technically if it's a harem, there's only one person that's the center focal of
Universe.
all of it. And then but if within that family, I guess, like it's polyamory, then um or within that relationship it's polyamory, then it's more like why, like why choose? Like why do you, if you are all in a relationship, why do you have to just be with one person within
Exactly.
that team?
I think the general populace understands the why choose
Mhm.
explanation much better than trying to explain the different branches that come off of polyamory.
Yeah.
Because I was very well educated by a good friend of mine that's actually in a polyamorous relationship, that both individuals come to that person, but they don't go to each other.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like almost a V. But then there's other ones that's a complete triangle that everybody's with
Right.
everybody, and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. So the why choose is much easier to
The,
explain
the umbrella,
versus,
hmm.
instead of saying, okay, well, A, B, and C are okay together, but do not include D. D is only with the FMC.
Well,
This one and that one is, you
it's
need like a scorecard, a Google spreadsheet,
yes,
and a bottle of Jack Daniels.
because especially with reverse harem, because like some of them are are like four, like a center, and then three partners. But once you start moving beyond that, like yeah, it's if it's a there's some different dynamics going on there, then yeah, it's definitely a little more confusing. And I've seen them up to like what is it, like up to 12, and I was just like, man,
I
I,
saw a couple of those. I mean, there's two out. One I will name the author that did it well, Jolie Sue Burkhart, with
Mhm.
her vampire series. She did it well. Towards the end, there was a couple of guys that I felt deserved a little bit more, you know, a little bit more of a spotlight on them, give them a little
A
bit
little
more
more
time up
attention.
front. Um, but she did it well. There was another author that has a series out. I glossed over it because there was just way too much. Um, I guess you would say Gen Z terminology, like all TikToky
Mhm.
in it, and I'm sitting, I'm like, what am I reading? Like my ancient 1970s brain, my 1977 brain cannot compute what is in front of me right now. And yeah, that series had the FMC with 12 men, and I couldn't tell, like sometimes if a character's well developed enough, you don't need the tags on who's speaking.
Right. Mhm.
Oh no, you need tags. You need tags, you need highlighters, you need little pictures. With the way that this book was, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I push through books whether I'm enjoying them or not, just to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, we all deserve page turns. We all deserve it. Um, but myself, like conscious wise, if it's like 3 stars or less, I will not leave a review just
Mhm.
because I don't want to destroy that person's algorithm.
Yeah.
But I will be like, hey, hun, just an FYI, there was this, and this. Especially if they leave like some of the authors have gotten smart and they leave like the forms in the back, which I really got to start doing. Like, hey, if you found an error, can you please submit it too?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a new innovation that I've started seeing in some books, that the author will leave a
Because reviewers are acting like they are
editors.
editors, and they're not always, it's like you are not right, I mean, and I always say that because I've had a few author friends from other countries who have had big problems because people are making editing error comments to them, and they're like, this is the way we spell it. Like, I'm not gonna go
Well, it's like the
redo my
spelling of the word.
language for you.
Here's one that I get flagged on all the time: prologue.
Yeah.
I spell prologue the European way, not the
Hmm.
American way, because English is my second language.
Uh-huh.
My
And
first language is German.
right.
Um, das tut mir leid. But anyway, so it's like I spell it Progue, prologue, GUE. And they're like, Dad, that's misspelled. And I'm like, you sure about that?
Right.
And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, there's the English, the American English, and then there's the European English, like the actual British English spelling. And I'm like, oh, there's where that is. Okay.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that. So we have about 8 minutes remaining.
Okay.
Let's ask, do you write anything outside of paranormal, or is that kind of your place?
I got a little secret. I'm not going to completely spill it, but yes, I am writing actually a completely human contemporary story under a different pen name currently.
So to be continued. We'll have to come back with that one when you do that one. Let's do
Yes, that
another one.
one. I'm like, that one's kind of hidden right now. Because myself, it's like when I look at other authors that go between doing like paranormal shifts, because I do a lot of shifters. Um, I'm mostly known for doing wolves. I just did angels and demons, which I was just like, yeah, why not? Let's just do something different. But to go from that extreme, like the
Mhm.
shifters, the humans, the shifted sex, things like that, to trying to remember these are people. They're just like I am. They can't magic their way out of things. They can't shift their way out of things. No matter how many times you do this, you're not going to grow claws.
Right,
I mean, I would love to, but yeah,
right.
you're not gonna grab glue claws no matter how many times you try to go like this, and it's very disappointing. Um, so when I'm trying to write this contemporary book, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. Nope, delete that. Nope, she doesn't have canines. Nope, can't do that. There's no way she could have heard that. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
I'm like my own worst critic. I'm like, oh, where was I going with that?
So
And I'll
that
just
contemporary will be coming, and you have
that is coming out April 19th. I've got my little whiteboard over there with all
mhm.
the dates with the different releases. So it's like, yeah, that's April 19th of next year. Yeah, hopefully. If I don't 86 that one.
That's why it's under wraps. I like writing lots of things that people don't know about, and then it looks like I'm super prolific because I'll just start, getting them edited and releasing them, and it's like, wow, you
But
did
the
so much
problem is,
writing, and I'm like, over the past 3 years, I've done so much writing.
finding an editor that is, one, consistently good, two, consistently available, and
Mm.
three, you don't have to mortgage your first child over.
Yeah.
I've still yet to find somebody with all three.
Hmm.
I could find affordable, but they're not always available and they're not always good.
Right. Yeah,
So,
it's a rough ride
and
with
then,
that.
and then you got people calling themselves editors and they're not editors. They're just people that think that they're really good at grammar and punctuation. I'm like,
Right.
no, I know that's my weak spot, so
Mhm.
I can't judge, but I know what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
When I can spot a problem, I'm like, oh, this really isn't good. This
And there's
really isn't
different
good when
types
I
of,
can spot it. It's just
yeah.
like, no, that's, my co-author Cass that's working on my first co-written book with her. She laughs because she's like, even when you spot it, it's bad. I'm like, shut up, Cass, just leave me alone. I'm like, I
Oh.
love you, but she's the grammar Nazi out of the two of us. And when I read something, it's like, oh my God, this is so bad. And she's like, what? And I'll send her a screenshot of the line
Hmm.
that I'm reading. And she'll be like, wow, that is bad and very blatant. You picked it out. Good job.
Hmm.
What'd you learn from that?
What did you learn? That is easier to edit someone else's work than your own, and
You never
that
see the
you
mistake
get
with yours. You never
no.
see it.
I've taught English for like so many freaking years, and that is one of the things that I always tell students, like you need a, a different person because you cannot edit yourself. Like
Oh God, no. There's
you
no way.
you you auto correct. And the problem with our digital editing today is that it, sometimes if they get into your story, they auto correct too, and that's how we end up with like little grammar pieces, or little things mixed up. And I always just say, you know what, there's going to be a couple of errors in the book. You just don't want it littered like that. I've just come to accept it. Like it doesn't matter if I pay a lot of money, if I pay a little bit of money, I will still go back and purchase and read my book and find at least one thing that I'm like, how did that get there?
Or I like it even better with some of these formatting programs when they decide to
Hmm.
glitch
Yes,
and
change things.
either change the spelling of somebody's name. They're like, oh well, Nicodemus's name was spelled this way here, but in chapter 5 it was spelled this way. Son of you know who I'm talking about, leave it alone.
Right? Like, let it
It's not
be.
going to change the person. It's the same flipping person. Just leave it
Right?
alone.
Leave my spelling alone.
Hey, I didn't do it. That was Vellum.
Right. Color.
Vellum is infamous for that.
Doing spell check.
It doesn't like the way you spell a name. It decides, like, nope, I'm going to change it over here. And I'm like, why? Why did you just do? Now I got to go back and look through the entire book again,
Entire book. Hmm.
add it to its dictionary so that way it does it correctly. I was doing, like, I format on the side um, occasionally for people. Um, Book had, I think it was like 180,000 words in it.
Mm.
It changed three of the guys' names.
Oh goodness. And you had to go back through. Whew.
And I'm sitting there like, fudge, correct that to the correct word. Um, I was like, I had to message the author and I'm like, listen, Vellum decided to do something really wonky and it changed your guys' names, which is the correct one. Because now I have to go back and fix the book
Right.
again. It took me an additional 2.5 hours to go through the book to fix all the names. I'm like, this is just ridiculous because it took me 4.5 hours to format it the first time because of the length.
Hmm.
Another 2.5 hours to find and correct the names. So I literally sat there with index cards like this with the correct names written on it. And I'm like,
Going
ooh, there
through.
it is.
So we
Ooh,
have
there it is.
2 minutes left. Tell
Yeah.
me if you could go back and talk to you when you first started out writing. for publication, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh dear God. Choose your editors more carefully. Your ARC team doesn't know everything. And the worst people to have read your books are your best friends. I say that with as much love because I know they're going to see this. You guys lie a lot. You don't like something, you won't say it. And then it's like, why did you guys let me do that? Well, we didn't want to hurt your feelings. Son of a, I needed you guys to be blunt.
Right. You mean,
Any other time you guys would sit there and be like, nope, nope, that's not gonna fly. No, this time it's like, oh, it's okay. So now when you hear, oh, it's okay, no, it's not.
no, it's not.
Really,
Double check it.
you guys lie. I don't let my best friends read the books now.
Yeah,
Not
I don't
until they're
blame you.
done, not until they've been through edits. And I always get at least 2 to 3 references on editors now before I start using them, because I made that mistake with my first series. I had a PA that claimed they were also an editor. That was a lie. Uh, I had an editor after the
So
PA that
be
was an
cautious.
editor. that was also a lie. So third time was the charm, and I mean, this is 3 book covers later for series 1, at least for the first 2 books. I finally found somebody that actually knew what they were doing, and then